Michael, we've talked a lot today about consolidation of tech stacks, being in the cloud, not holding data hostage, not having to pay for extraction. There's a lot of benefits around using a company like Behavox for an archive it, but also for surveillance and for other ecosystem tools that we provide. But what's next? What do companies really want tomorrow outside of what we already provide today?
Well, that's something I think about a lot. Um, I would say they want a couple of things. First of all, they want a fundamental change in how they're treated, how they deal with their suppliers and partners. So we talked about the Hotel California effect. I think there's a couple of other effects as well. So one thing is there's a lot of what is referred to as AI washing. So, I literally stick Gemini, Copilot, whatever, onto some application. I go, hey, it's AI enabled. It fundamentally doesn't change anything. And there's a lot of this AI washing, as they call it, going around the place. And I think actually it's kind of insulting to the customer. It's kind of, I'll spray paint some color on your television and tell you it's color now. It's like, no, nothing's really changed. So I think they want to be treated better from that perspective. I think they want to have their data given back to them. So that's the first thing. I think what they want next is they want the data to be alive and to be accessible. Simple as that. So just like much as the software tools, data needs to be able to flow. It needs to be available. It also needs to be secured and all those other things, right? So it's not a simple thing I'm saying. It sounds easy, but they need to provide with that because one is it can substantially improve how compliance and legal operate. Because you've the ability to start looking across different types of data. There's not really, anybody who tells you they know what's going to happen next is lying. It's beyond, because it's going to be based on the imagination of every single company participating in this business, because they'll all have different ideas, and we've got to give them their data with the right tooling that it's available to do what they want. So, for example, a very simple example of that is reporting. There's no point trying to develop 100 different reports because you still won't develop enough for your customers. There's certain fundamental things, yes, you report on that, but then you give them the ability to actually just tailor the information to meet their needs. That's the same with machine learning. We need to give them flexibility of the data because then they will unleash the potential. I mean, you can think of almost any example where data goes into the public domain. People do all the obvious things and then they do some amazing new things. They combine this with that and they get something we hadn't even thought of before. And I think for me, even in a really progressive company like ours, it's almost impossible to fully articulate the potential because it's really limited by not by us, but by the imagination of our clients. But ultimately, they want openness and freedom. It's their data, they want to be able to use it. What they do with it will be exciting to see. And they're being held back. That's very frustrating. Some of them are being treated as hostages. That's actually probably aggravating. I think we've seen this explosion recently of people who are just completely fed up. I mean, I've never seen anybody talk about a strategic supplier like I've seen recently. And it's kind of funny, right? But it's not nice, and it's because they've been driven to it. And that's not right either. So they're not going to make that mistake again. They're going to choose people that have got a bit of, well, I'm going to say it, they've got integrity. They're going to look for integrity. They're going to look for innovation. They're going to look for ingenuity, but they're going to have that openness. AI is open. Your data should be open. Your communication should be open. It then it's up to you to work out what you do with it. And that's where they will get competitive advantage, right? You won't get competitive advantage by being like everyone else. You're going to get it by doing something that might only be unique to you, the way you trade. So again, if you think of it, just another part of our ecosystem, the Mosaic smart data, that's looking at bonds and bonds on recommendation. If I can combine that with some other kinds of data, maybe I can see some new opportunities. Who knows? Now, all of that, of course, again, it requires really good control because within there is another regulation that we haven't touched on today. Surprisingly, actually, GDPR, right? So of course, how you use the data is very important and what you use it for. So there's all sorts of issues. I'm not pretending it's simple. But what I love is our clients are very aware of it. So there's been people are very savvy now about what they can. So they will challenge me on these things. Like, oh, what about GDPR? What about? But that's good because they will push it forward. So I think that's all they want to do. They just want, it's the spirit of free enterprise. They just want to be left loose with their stuff, whatever that stuff happens to be. Combine it, mix it, repackage it, do whatever you want. It's their business. We're here to enable it. We're not here to tell them anything.